The story begins. It is now December in Kyoto. At this moment, an intense badminton match is taking place. The current score is 20-19. At that moment, the main character starts to recall the past. He was expelled because he hadn't shown any improvement over the past year. However, he still firmly believed that he could continue playing. But there was one condition for him. That was, the next tournament would be his final chance. And if he failed to win, he would definitely be expelled. Suddenly, an unexpected situation occurred. He accidentally remembered his past. As a result, Makoto couldn't hit the shuttlecock anymore. In the end, he lost the match. A few months later, he was riding the subway. Makoto recalled how his opponent once saw him as nothing but a loser. The young man decided not to think about it anymore. He took out his food and began eating like crazy. Suddenly, Mitsuhoshi received a phone call. The main character's name is Makoto, and it was his mother who called. Makoto hadn't told her that he had been expelled. His mother told him that even if he came home, there would be no room for him, because she was busy raising a monitor lizard. The famous Mitsuhoshi Bank had no place for a genius like Makoto either. His mother suggested that if he couldn't play singles, he should try doubles, but Makoto didn't see that as an option. He was very disappointed in himself. Suddenly, he received another phone call. Makoto was surprised to hear that he had been accepted. It was April in Urawa. The phone call that day was an invitation from the sales director of Sunlight Beverage Company. It seemed that Makoto's badminton career hadn't come to an end yet. Since it was his first day at work, Makoto's mother was very worried about him. She asked him all kinds of questions, including whether he was wearing a tie or not. That was when he suddenly realized he had forgotten to bring one. So Makoto immediately went to buy a tie. He quickly tied it up before heading out. Makoto thought he was coming here as an athlete, but now he wondered why he had to wear a suit and a tie. Suddenly, Makoto noticed a man lying in the park. He thought that man was a homeless person. Unexpectedly, the man asked Makoto for some water. Then, he drank the entire bottle. Makoto wanted to leave, but the man treated him as a lifesaver, so he wouldn't let Makoto go that easily. Makoto could clearly smell the strong scent of alcohol. The man noticed Makoto's tie was tied too tightly, so he helped him adjust it. Suddenly, Makoto realized he was running late. He hurriedly ran off at full speed. Finally, he arrived at Sunlight Company. Makoto was assigned to work in the sales department. Everyone looked at him with surprise, because he had tied his ties so perfectly. Thus, his first day at work turned into a complete joke. At that moment, Miyasumi also arrived. Makoto couldn't understand why he was there. The young man was still annoyed about the tie incident. Miyasumi was the top performer in the sales department. That man was also his former comrade from the badminton club. Makoto was then taken on a tour to visit different departments. Sunlight Beverage was a drink manufacturer with over 40 years of history. They produced many different kinds of beverages. Natto Cola was their lowest selling product. Next, they visited the accounting department. There, Makoto met Tuya again. Tuya was his former high school teammate. Tuya considered Makoto a rather unpleasant person. Because Makoto had left Kyoto without saying a single word, Tuya was still angry with him, especially because of what happened at the previous inter-school tournament. Makoto claimed that it had nothing to do with him. He thought he would be training by now. But Miyasumi still wanted him to go outside and greet clients. That day, Makoto realized he had a junior to mentor. However, he didn't have a business card. So when Makoto read the client's name, he got it wrong, and he didn't even have a driver's license. Makoto couldn't understand why he was only allowed to practice at night. Miyasumi explained that it was the rule there. Makoto believed that was the reason everyone remained stuck in Division 2. Miyasumi admitted that compared to Mitsuhoshi, this place was nothing, so he hoped that Makoto would work hard together with him. But Makoto didn't want to get close to anyone. Meanwhile, Miyasumi believed that if they teamed up, the results would definitely be good. Yet Makoto still refused to play doubles. That afternoon, Makoto was quite surprised by the practice court. Suddenly, Tuya showed up as well, and a young boy appeared too. The boy looked at the two adults coming to an elementary school with large backpacks. Makoto thought the training here was truly strange. Meanwhile, Tuya thought Makoto was the strange one, because of that tie incident on his first day of work. Then Takeda Kuki arrived. Takeda and Tuya were a doubles pair. They were even nicknamed Takedo. Meanwhile, Tuya's older brother had already arrived earlier. He was 4 years older than Makoto. His name was Saki Soda. Soda had also heard about Makoto's necktie incident. Suddenly, the manager showed up as well. Ono Yasuomi was both the company's president and the club's manager. He noticed that Makoto's doubles partner hadn't arrived yet, but just as he mentioned it, That person appeared, and that person was none other than Miyasumi. However, Makoto decided to quit and walk away. The manager immediately raised his voice to stop him. He wanted Makoto to be the one to decide whether he would play singles or doubles. That made Makoto furious, because he didn't want anyone else to make decisions for him. Makoto wanted to win the singles tournament. He wanted to prove that Mitsuhoshi had made a mistake. He bluntly said, "If I had known this team was so weak, I would never have come here." Because he didn't want to end his career in a place like this. Miyasumi responded, "If that's what you believe, then prove it." At that moment, the manager set a condition. If Makoto won, he would be allowed to play singles. But if he lost, he would have to play doubles with Miyasumi. And so, their match began. Miyasumi served first. Thus, the badminton game officially started. Both sides began smashing the shuttlecock back and forth continuously. Miyasumi took advantage of an opening and delivered a powerful smash. Scoring instantly, the match continued. At this point, Miyasumi kept scoring point after point. The score had already reached 6-0. But Tuya knew that was Makoto's usual play style. At first, Makoto would observe his opponent carefully. However, as the score kept rising, Makoto had already read Miyasumi's playing pattern. This time, he anticipated Miyasumi's next move in advance. Makoto blocked the shot before it even happened. Everyone was shocked. The manager recognized that this was Makoto's special weapon. He called it prediction, because Makoto could foresee his opponent's movements. He observed even the tiniest gestures, watching every motion of his opponent with great focus. That was how Makoto could predict what his opponent would do next. The match gradually turned back in Makoto's favor. Miyasumi admitted that Makoto's skill was indeed impressive. But for Miyasumi, the real match was just beginning. While Makoto continued to observe carefully, Miyasumi changed his playing style once again. This made Makoto's prediction technique ineffective. Makoto knew that his ability was a powerful weapon, but it also carried a high element of risk and luck. The manager then said, "Makoto is actually more suited for doubles." At that moment, both sides continued their fierce rally. Makoto suddenly recalled his painful past. The score became 11-10. Everyone couldn't understand why Makoto was acting that way. Both sides kept chasing each other point by point. The score remained close with no clear gap. Suddenly, Miyasumi made a spectacular save. Makoto didn't expect him to move so dangerously. Since dropping the shuttle would mean losing the point, Miyasumi pushed himself to the limit to return it. Makoto gradually admitted that Miyasumi was indeed a very strong opponent. At that moment, Miyasumi continued to score. The match was slowly reaching its conclusion. Both players kept smashing the shuttle back and forth relentlessly. Neither of them was willing to give in. Makoto thought that if Miyasumi were his opponent, he would be terrifying, but if he were a teammate, it would be different. Then, Miyasumi delivered a powerful finishing shot, and he became the winner. Miyasumi realized that playing singles was truly exhausting. He also figured out that Makoto was perfectly suited for doubles. In the end, they became a powerful doubles duo. That evening, the two of them went home together. Makoto felt rather uncomfortable, because he was about to start playing doubles. Suddenly, he was shocked again. His dorm room turned out to be such a small and cramped place. The next morning, Makoto got ready for work. Miyasumi was already waiting for him at the door. The two continued to visit clients together. Miyasumi was a very playful and mischievous person, while Makoto was extremely cautious. And so, they finished another day of work. Later that day, their practice session continued. Makoto realized the ceiling there was incredibly low. Miyasumi wanted him to get used to it. They kept on training without rest. Suddenly, Makoto realized that even the reality check cameras here didn't exist. And when he went to the physical training area, they didn't even have a single exercise machine. He couldn't believe how poor the conditions were. Meanwhile, there would be a practice match against Unisex this weekend. At that time, the manager wanted to test their coordination as a doubles pair. Makoto wondered where the manager's racket was. Suddenly, the manager pulled out his own giant fan to hit the shuttlecock. The coordination between Miyasumi and Makoto was completely off. They kept bumping into each other. This made Makoto recall his painful past once again. Miyasumi apologized to him, but then he noticed that Makoto's behavior seemed a bit strange. He realized Makoto was trembling. The training session ended shortly after. That evening, the whole group went out drinking together. Miyasumi and Makoto still couldn't synchronize as a team. The two kept arguing and blaming each other. At that moment, they heard some news about their upcoming opponents. Everyone started discussing it. Makoto still firmly insisted, "If we lose this match, it'll be Miyasumi's fault." And so, their argument continued. The next day, The two of them went to visit clients together again. They arrived at the largest supermarket in the prefecture. The place was managed by Director Waoko. He was also Sunlight Company's #1 client. Director Waoko was obsessed with cars. When they arrived at his office, he praised Miyasumi's previous campaign, saying it was excellent, because Miyasumi had helped increase sales by 8%. After that, Miyasumi continued with his task of arranging the company's products. Makoto thought it was strange that even in business, they still had to do manual labor like this. But Miyasumi believed, if we work hard, it'll surely bring good results. At that moment, Miyasumi asked Makoto to go fetch more stock. Makoto reluctantly agreed. While getting the goods, Makoto happened to notice a very suspicious man. He got distracted and accidentally tripped. The box he was carrying fell and hit the supermarket director's car. They had no choice but to apologize. The director didn't want them to do that in front of customers. But this time, he said he would reconsider continuing his partnership with Sunlight Company. Miyasumi immediately took full responsibility for the incident. The director said it had taken him half a year to convince his wife to let him buy that car. Meanwhile, Makoto noticed the suspicious man again. He ran over and blocked the man's path. Makoto anticipated that the man would throw a punch at him. Sure enough, the man did, and he turned out to be a thief stealing from the supermarket. Suddenly, the man pulled out a knife. He lunged forward, trying to stab Makoto, but Miyasumi managed to react in time and subdued him. He successfully caught the thief. That evening, the two returned to their dorm. Director Waoko had already reviewed the situation and decided it was fine. Miyasumi then asked how Makoto had known that man was the thief. He was really curious about how Makoto could predict it. Makoto calmly said, "That's my special ability. I can foresee unconscious movements in others. Simply put, it's a way of predicting the future." Makoto continued, "Since I was a kid, I've always observed people closely." Miyasumi thought it sounded just like nonverbal communication. He didn't use words when communicating. He saw Makoto as a comrade, not an arrogant guy. Meanwhile, Makoto only thought the two of them were temporarily paired up. But Miyasumi really wanted to play together with him. He wanted Makoto to try coming up with a new strategy. But Makoto refused, because he wasn't interested. So the two of them went to the headquarters of Unisix. Makoto's team was very jealous of that place. Hayato from Unisix also came out to greet everyone, because today they were introducing a new product. A lot of reporters showed up. Then the match between Unisix and Sunlight was about to begin. And soon, it started. Game 1 of the match was intense. But Unisix ended up winning. Game 2 didn't look any better for Sunlight. The victory went to Yagami and Natsuki from Unisix. In the second match, Soda faced Yokosuka. Soda won Game 1, and Game 2's result didn't change. Overall, Sunlight won the second match. In the third match, Makoto and Miyasumi went up to play. The official match began. As soon as the serve started, Makoto saw how skilled his opponents were. Then came a spike. The opponent scored immediately. The score kept rising to 5-1. His teammates thought Makoto was just observing. But Unisix still held control of the match. Makoto admitted it was really hard to read them. The opponents kept scoring. Then, Makoto was once again haunted by his past. But this time, Miyasumi intervened. However, even so, he couldn't stop the opponents. Then Miyasumi also realized that Makoto's predictive ability wasn't working. Ojinome and Hayato were truly terrifying. Indeed, the world's #2 rank was impressive. Game 1 ended with a victory for Unisix. Miyasumi saw that Makoto hadn't been paying attention because he was playing doubles. But the balls Makoto couldn't handle. Miyasumi would surely cover all of them. Game 2 also began. Sure enough, Miyasumi successfully spiked a high ball to score. He continuously blocked and saved balls that Makoto couldn't reach. The score was 12-6. Makoto had an idea. Then he continued. He was able to see the future. Sure enough, he managed to return the ball. Then he even successfully scored a point. The momentum of the match began to shift. Hayato also started realizing that Makoto had read his movements. Even when he guessed wrong, Miyasumi was still able to respond in time. The plan had succeeded. Makoto would follow one predictive direction of his own. If he guessed wrong, Miyasumi would cover the other direction. The two of them successfully narrowed the point gap. Makoto continued to predict. Then he officially took the lead. Both sides continued to struggle back and forth. Makoto successfully returned the ball. The opponents countered with a save. Remembering Miyasumi's words, Makoto didn't let the ball touch the ground. Then Miyasumi finished with a decisive strike. In Game 2, the score was tied at 1-1. Unisix didn't expect that after so many years. The two of them had only lost one game. Both decided they had to play seriously. Then the final game began. The outcome was soon decided. Although they lost, Miyasumi thought he had gained a lot. The chance for revenge would come at the corporate tournament in June. Makoto was determined not to lose to anyone again. The young man had no choice but to accept playing doubles until the tournament. The next day, both of their work went smoothly. Usayama came to see Miyasumi. Because Miyasumi had finalized a promotional gift with Waoko without going through the product quality management department. But Miyasumi considered it normal. He also introduced Makoto to Usayama. The two continued to argue over Miyasumi's abuse of authority. Then they wanted him to urgently submit a report to the management department. After that, Makoto was explained more clearly about the product quality management department. It was like the company's police. They were responsible for overseeing every process. In return, that department provided peace of mind for customers. Back in the office, Makoto was informed that his plan had been selected. The young man couldn't believe it was him. Then the whole office had a trip to the Tatebayashi factory to make a proposal. Miyasumi begged the director to let everyone go together. Makoto was also warned to remember that he was at work. If he took it lightly, he would be expelled from the club. But that was just too joking. In general, just completing the proposal form first was enough. The young man had no idea what it was. The whole group had already arrived at the factory. Everyone toured together and began their work. In the afternoon, the whole group rested at a very large villa. They began working together on the proposal form. Makoto wondered if he could even do this work. Miyasumi brought up playing doubles in badminton. He said that if they didn't complete it, how could they win? Work was the same way. The group continued thinking and giving ideas based on Makoto's concept. But truly, he didn't know how to write a proposal plan. Tuya suggested other ideas to help Makoto make the plan. Then the group continued helping Makoto understand more deeply. They began pointing out the strengths and weaknesses of the plan. For a while, Makoto was overwhelmed by it all. Then it was time to cross-check ideas and analyze them. After that, a clear idea emerged, but the group got stuck again with other ideas. Makoto suddenly thought of a Ramune bottle. The whole group also thought it was a good idea. Everyone came up with additional ideas. Then it was time to summarize everything discussed. And the group was surprised again by Makoto. He inputted data into the computer extremely slowly. They thought at this rate, it wouldn't be finished until morning. In the evening, Makoto and Miyasumi went to the hot springs to bathe. The two of them had a quiet chat. Makoto said he only wanted to play badminton. But Miyasumi saw work and badminton as inseparable. It was similar to making a proposal while playing doubles. Without focus, nothing could succeed. Makoto said he had failed several times. Miyasumi wanted to know about his past. After a long silence, Makoto finally admitted that he was afraid of jumping backward. Back in high school, during the inter-school tournament, at that time, Makoto was playing doubles with Azuma. He was quite tired after game 1 but still wanted to cover the backcourt. After a situation where he moved back, the two of them collided. Azuma suffered a serious injury. He couldn't continue playing badminton. Makoto also ran to Mitsuhoshi. From then on, he couldn't jump backward anymore. When that situation appeared, the memory came flooding back. It made his body unable to move. Miyasumi saw that there was no time to delay. Because he was there behind him, Miyasumi knew he was much stronger than Makoto. So he didn't worry about it. After the two finished bathing and returned to the room, they were wished a happy birthday. The whole group knew it was Makoto's 20th birthday. So they prepared a surprise for him. This was also Miyasumi's idea. Makoto didn't understand why they organized it for him. The group saw everyone as comrades. Then the party went very happily. It was the first time Makoto drank beer. His first time, and it was even the company's own beer. Then, after a while, everyone was shocked by him. The young man was drunk. But unexpectedly, he saw this as the reason why the club was weak. He also wanted to analyze every point clearly. He pointed out the weaknesses of each member. The young man didn't spare a single word. All four froze at what Makoto said. After the scolding, it was the young man's turn to thank. He thanked each person individually. Then he also passed out completely. The next day, they returned to work. The young man still couldn't fully wake up. In the afternoon, practice continued as usual. After practice, management presented the pairing list for this year's corporate tournament. Everyone resolved to do their best for the tournament. In the past, Makoto and Azuma had promised to become the strongest pair. Then, the All-Japan Corporate Badminton Tournament took place. In the first match, Soto won. Management didn't want the team to be careless because the path ahead was still long. About 200 companies participated in this tournament. If Sunlight reached the finals, they would have to win 7 matches. If everything went smoothly, they would face Tamari Transport in round 5. In the evening, they celebrated the first day's victory with a non-alcoholic meal. But Makoto and Miyasumi quietly ate without saying much. Makoto's new green onion drink had not yet been approved. Makoto asked for more time. Currently, they were just waiting for Usayama's decision. But both had been wondering how to bring out the delicious flavor in a drink. Makoto also wanted to learn more about Fukaya green onions. So he asked the shop owner to explain it clearly to him. On the second day of the tournament, Takeda and Tuya won their match. The team advanced past round 4. Tomorrow, they would face Tamari. They were nicknamed the Lions of the Hokuriku region. Management then wanted the team to rest and recover. But Makoto and Miyasumi asked permission to leave early. The two took a vehicle to go and learn more about Fukaya green onions. They arrived at a vast field of green onions. Because the Tone River ran nearby and the winter wind blew, Fukaya green onions had a gentle, sweet flavor. Makoto tasted it. He screamed because it was too spicy. It was that way because it was still raw. Haruki came to visit his grandfather. The little boy realized that Makoto was an adult who had attended his elementary school. Makoto also remembered the boy. Miyasumi immediately introduced himself. He joked around, making the little boy freeze for 5 seconds. Then the two were invited by Haruki's family to have a meal. They enjoyed it and agreed that it was very delicious. The old man continued to talk about green onions, saying they taste better depending on the season. They were especially good in winter. Haruki didn't like them. He only wanted to eat hamburgers. His grandmother let him eat green onions and apple salad. He also admitted it was delicious. She explained that apples help reduce the smell of green onions. Even if the smell was gone, the green onions still tasted great. In the afternoon, the two thanked Haruki's grandparents a lot. They also hoped the next model would be successful. Haruki was curious about what was in the two men's bag. They also brought a racket and a shuttlecock. Haruki looked at it and noticed it was different from the ones at school. Then Makoto played with Haruki. They arrived at the third day of the tournament. If they won today, they would face Unisex. The Tamari team members greeted them. Makoto was shocked to see something very unexpected. He had met Azuma again. The first match between the two teams began. Miyasumi asked if Azuma was the person Makoto had talked about, the one who had been his doubles partner. Tamari had changed their lineup from usual. Game 1 began. Tamari scored immediately. Meanwhile, in the stands, there was a very enthusiastic cheering team. The match continued. Tamari still dominated the game. They also won Game 1. Game 2 continued. Takeda was under psychological pressure. Then he made a mistake right after. The cheering made him extremely uncomfortable. In the past, when he confessed in front of a crowd, he had been rejected directly. It made him the center of everyone's ridicule. Then the match ended. Tamari Transport won. Both sides shook hands after the match. Takeda later thought it was all his fault. But Tuya didn't blame him. In the singles match between the two sides, Yuaho would be Soda's opponent. On the first smash, Yuaho failed. Yuaho blamed his muscles for not listening to him. He was also reminded by Ayaka that if he lost, she wouldn't make protein for him anymore. Then the match continued. Yuaho was determined to win. But muscles alone couldn't beat Soda's superb technique. The match ended with Soda's victory. The score between the two sides was now tied. Then the decisive third match began. Makoto remained frozen. He could only stand still and endure. He thought Azuma was probably very resentful of him. Then came Azuma's smashing situation. Makoto still stood frozen, even though he could see the future. Management knew this was an important moment and that he had to overcome it. The match continued. Azuma saw that Makoto didn't dare to move or jump backward. Miyasumi was bracing himself and fighting hard. Then another high shot came toward Makoto. He still stood there, motionless. Azuma realized the problem. He thought that if he had known it would be like this, he would rather not meet him again. Tuya also remembered that Azuma was Makoto's former doubles partner. And the reason Makoto couldn't jump backward was because of Azuma. Game 1 ended with a wide victory for Tamari Transport. Management asked how Makoto felt facing his former teammate. He said that in this world, only the winner could advance. He didn't think Makoto was someone who would give up so easily. Makoto thought he would win the next game. Management could only put all his trust in him. Game 2 officially began. Azuma believed the mistake in the past was not Makoto's fault. Both sides continued to fight against each other. Azuma admired Makoto very much. He really wished he could be like Makoto. But he didn't understand why Makoto played in such a way. Perhaps facing him made Makoto feel guilty. Miyasumi continued to save the shots. But the opponent scored immediately afterward. Azuma's teammates didn't expect that. Despite his injury, he was still amazing. With that extraordinary effort, He gradually stabilized. The score was 7-2. The match between the two sides remained extremely tense. Tamari continuously scored points. After a while, the score had reached 11-2. Azuma wanted Makoto to snap out of it. "Why are you holding back? What the hell are you doing? I don't need your pity. Winning like this isn't fun at all." During the break, Miyasumi didn't say much. He gave Makoto a sharp knock on the head. He saw it as a way to boost his spirit. The most important thing to do right now was to win no matter what. Miyasumi also had a very good idea. So the match continued. Miyasumi and Makoto switched positions. Then they scored after that situation. The two also called out to each other to know who would take the shot. They began to regain control of the match. But Tamari wasn't going to give up easily. The point gap was still very large. Miyasumi seemed to play harder than usual when having to call out. But it helped clear his mind and stay focused. Now he wanted Makoto's eyes to speak. Then it continued. Makoto began activating his advanced observation haki. He successfully predicted a smash and scored immediately. Azuma also started to feel the thrill of fighting alongside Makoto. The score gradually closed. Both sides remained fierce, unwilling to yield. Game 2 was nearing its end. A very professional save by Makoto. The score between the two teams was now tied. Tonizaki considered this match had only just begun. Game 3 would be the decisive game. And it was extremely tense. The two teams kept trading points, fiercely chasing each other. Makoto still didn't dare to jump backward. Miyasumi couldn't save the shots in time. Tamari kept scoring. Makoto felt a little disappointed in himself. The score was 19-17. He didn't want to lose faith in his senior. He knew it wasn't that he couldn't jump, but that he refused to jump. He activated his predictive haki again. Then they continued to score points. The score was 19-20. Just one more point, and Makoto and Miyasumi would win. Both sides were ready. Makoto took a deep breath. And it began. Both sides plunged into the battle again. A high shot came. This was the decisive move. Miyasumi wanted Makoto to jump. Then Makoto decided to jump. He launched a decisive strike. And it succeeded immediately. Victory was secured. Miyasumi admitted that the smash was beautiful. The two thanked each other. Azuma and Makoto also shook hands. In the evening, everyone celebrated the win together after reaching the quarterfinals. Both teams also interacted with each other. Makoto didn't dare to say anything to Azuma. Azuma went outside. Tonizaki noticed it. Then the two of them had a heartfelt conversation. Tonizaki feared that partnering with Azuma would be difficult. But Azuma saw it as normal. The more they talked, the more they understood each other. Azuma also realized this and wanted to start over from the beginning. They both promised to become the strongest pair. Azuma also decided to talk to Makoto. The young man was already drunk. Only when drunk did his words come out. Then Makoto poured out all his feelings. Everyone listened attentively. He even shed tears, afraid that Azuma could no longer play badminton. He apologized for running away. But he also thanked him for today's match. Then Makoto fell asleep. Miyasumi thought that even though he drank a bit too much, these were Makoto's sincere words for Azuma. Makoto had just finished typing up his work. He was extremely sleepy. Early in the morning, he was woken up. He hadn't saved his work from last night and had hastily shut down the computer. Then the two of them went to the company. Makoto was still sleepy because he had stayed up late preparing the presentation. Today there was also a product trial session. But Makoto was still dazed and didn't understand anything. It was a trial toss to observe customers' reactions. Everyone here was working hard because of Makoto's plan. Today, Makoto would also wear cosplay clothes. Everyone started asking him to help with tasks. Everyone was calling his name. After a while, he was completely exhausted. Miyasumi wanted him to check the guest list. Tuya thought he should also invite his parents. Usayama always brought his family to every event. He had gotten married, had children, and had quit the badminton club. In high school, he had been on par with Ibuki from Mitsuhoshi. In university tournaments, he always competed for the championship. Currently, he only focused on work. Then Makoto and Miyasumi continued their tasks. They went together to send invitations for the product trial. On the way back, Miyasumi noticed Makoto's vest was dirty. Upon asking, he found out Makoto only had one set. He considered a vest as a businessperson's essential tool. So he immediately had an idea. He took Makoto to buy a new set. After countless steps of advice and trying on one set after another, Makoto finally made his choice. Miyasumi said that being more polished would increase the success rate of the presentation. Makoto didn't expect that his ginger green onion soda would be approved by Usayama. He admitted that Usayama was very strict, truly deserving the title of the company's police. Miyasumi knew he was very attached to badminton. Preparations for the presentation were nearly complete. Makoto had put on his cosplay outfit. The vehicle carrying the drinks also arrived. But there was no ginger green onion soda. That was all the stock they had. Usayama announced that the ginger green onion soda trial would be temporarily postponed. Everyone was quite surprised to hear that. According to information from the purchasing department, the ingredients used to make the ginger green onion were still in stock. That meant the existing ingredients might have already been used. With the quality management department, the word possible simply didn't exist. So Usayama didn't want low-quality products to leave the factory. Therefore, the plan had to change. Everyone worked together to solve it immediately. This time Soda also wanted to go check, because he was participating in the plan this time. Makoto began searching for the order invoice. He and Miyasumi tried to find it, but just by looking at the accountant's eyes, Makoto realized he was lying. In fact, the soda invoice hadn't been processed yet, so the main cause was here. The accountant hadn't processed it in time. Guests had already arrived for the presentation. Makoto's mother also brought her pet. Usayama's wife and children also came. The two mothers were very eager to try the ginger green onion soda. Then the presentation officially began. The invoice still couldn't be found. Surprisingly, Usayama also came to help search. He wanted Makoto to focus on finding it and not ask questions. There was no time left to inquire further. Then Makoto finally found it. Soda also went to the warehouse. He realized that the remaining ingredients weren't for the ginger green onion soda. They only looked like the outer packaging, so the product had no problem anymore. But there was currently no truck to deliver the product. Miyasumi immediately found a solution. The presentation had reached the final product, but Miyasumi wanted to buy a little more time. Makoto thought that everything was already over. Suddenly, a large truck arrived. Azuma himself was driving it. Then today's final product was introduced, the ginger green onion soda. Everyone tried it and agreed that it was truly delicious and refreshing. The event concluded successfully. Afterwards, Makoto and Azuma had a conversation together. Makoto thanked Azuma greatly for saving him. Azuma also acknowledged that Makoto had changed. He had become much more honest than before. Azuma decided he would fully dedicate himself to badminton. He admitted that playing with Makoto was very enjoyable, even though the two were opponents. He resolved that next time he would not lose. Azuma then returned. Afterwards, Makoto prepared himself. He got ready to present his product. After a while, his presentation was complete. Some members of the council thought it was good, while others began to criticize. They brought up the issue of the glass Ramune bottles. Makoto decided to explain it, but when he opened the document he had prepared, there was nothing. Takeda realized the problem. The computer only contained an empty file. Everyone on the council was waiting. Takeda decided to save him. He recalled the advice, just imagine everyone is naked. So the young man imagined it. Then he regained his inspiration. He asked for permission to begin his presentation. He presented the issue of the Ramune bottles clearly and fluently, but he continued to be criticized because the cost was very high. Usayama decided to step in. He presented data showing that up to 89% of customers were satisfied with it. Then the director also agreed to launch the ginger green onion soda project. Afterwards, Makoto and Miyasumi were very happy that the plan was completed. Makoto thought that without everyone's help, he would have failed. Miyasumi also thanked Usayama for saving them from an obvious defeat. He still mentioned Usayama's badminton. Usayama thought he had given up, but when it came to badminton, once you've held on, you can't let go. Makoto asked if he had truly given it up. Usayama could only remain silent. The tournament continued to the 6th day. Today, Sunlight would face Unisex. Makoto decided to take revenge for the previous defeat. Today, Usayama's family also came to watch. The match between the two teams was extremely intense. Unisex won Game 1 first. Usayama realized that in Game 1, Miyasumi and Makoto had been completely controlled by the opponents. But now, the new attack plan for both of them had begun. Then Game 2 immediately continued. It was still a fierce contest between both sides. Miyasumi played low shots. The opponents smashed them. Miyasumi returned the shot just over the net. Thus, they scored a point. In the evening, the two planned together. Makoto suggested sacrificing Game 1. This would serve as a foundation for both to win. The purpose was to identify the opponent's habits and playing style. In Game 2, they would take advantage of the opponent's carelessness and counterattack immediately. The match was very intense. Both teams continued to chase each other closely. Unisex realized that the two of them were using low arc shots. The purpose was to prevent Unisex from smashing the shuttle. Makoto successfully deceived the opponents and scored a point. The score was 10-13. Continuing, Unisex began to retaliate by smashing low arc shots. Miyasumi admitted that they were indeed not simple opponents. Makoto thought this game would focus entirely on Hayato. Surely the opponents would think the same, but he had already accounted for that. After several exchanges, Hayato continued to smash the shuttle, but the shuttle had slowed down, just as the plan had intended, when the wind affected the shuttle. A shuttle weighing 5 grams. Fortunately, the wind direction this game was favorable, so Makoto knew the opponent's shots would slow down significantly. Miyasumi returned the shuttle. The opponents thought it would go out, but it was actually still in the court. Game 2 also ended with Sunlight winning. The world's number 2 continued to lose a game. Game 3 started immediately afterward. Hayato thought this time the wind was in his favor, so he smashed the shuttle mercilessly. It also went out of the court. The score reached 19-19. Hayato had another chance to smash. Makoto was waiting for this moment. Using his prediction, he anticipated the shuttle's direction. Thus, he successfully blocked it and scored. Then Hayato continued to smash repeatedly. Both sides continued to make spectacular returns. Miyasumi struggled to save the shuttle, but his landing caused an injury. However, the match ended with that situation. Sunlight won against Unisex. Both sides shook hands after an excellent match. It was Soda's turn to play singles. His opponent would be Misora Ayato. Then, with a smash from Ayato, the match started, and within a second, the score was 1-0. Ayato had extremely advanced skills. He seemed to be playing around on the court. Soda found it extremely difficult against Ayato. Ayato thought Soda was still not playing seriously. Soda knew he had tried his best, but some things were just impossible. The match ended with a victory for Ayato. The scores for the two games were 21-13 and 21-14. Soda had to admit that Ayato was a genius. The next match belonged to Tuya and Takeda. Young Takeda continued imagining everyone naked to boost his spirit. Then the match momentum belonged to both of them. Both continuously scored points against the opponents. The current score of Game 1 was 4-9. Later, Unisex began to fight back to regain momentum. The score was 15-15. Both sides were still in a fierce struggle. One attacked, one defended. The winner of Game 1 was Unisex. In Game 2, Unisex still held the initiative. The crowd heated up for the match. Unisex continuously scored points with their smashes. Tuya and Takeda could only endure. The current gap had grown to 4 points. Tuya realized the situation was very bad. Takeda tried his best, but it didn't make much difference. The gap still couldn't be narrowed. But for everyone, and for himself, he decided to give everything he had. In the end, it still wasn't enough. The match ended. The victory went to Yagami and Natsuki of Unisex. Both teams shook hands afterward. Sunlight had to stop there. Usayama thought that if they could make it this hard for Unisex, then next time, being at the top of the SJ tournament wouldn't just be a dream. Usayama didn't understand why he felt excited. Perhaps he was envious of them. For the sake of his wife and child, Usayama had given up badminton. He chose to protect his family and always kept that in mind. Right now, there was only work, wife, and child, so he probably didn't dare hope for anything else. Makoto didn't understand why his team was so calm. Were they satisfied with the result? By the 6th day everyone thought winning was enough. But Makoto saw it as a team effort. In truth, everyone knew this, but being depressed wouldn't help. Little did they know that Makoto would say such words to a petty person like him. Makoto had truly matured. On the way home, Makoto asked about Miyasumi's leg. Miyasumi said it was just a minor twist and nothing serious. By chance, Makoto bumped into someone. It was Azumo. He saw Makoto as a good partner for Miyasumi. Azumo had been Miyasumi's former partner. Makoto also met his old opponent, Takuma. Takuma still regarded Makoto as a loser and continued to say unpleasant things. But Makoto asserted one thing. He would definitely defeat Mitsuhishi at the SJ tournament. Mitsuhishi was also ready. Defeating them meant becoming number 1 in the world. Azumo advised Miyasumi to be careful with his leg. Usayama's wife knew that her husband really wanted to play badminton again. She thought that even after marriage and becoming a parent, he still had the right to dream. Their child also accepted his father's participation. Usayama was deeply moved by his wife and child. Both of them supported him wholeheartedly. Usayama decided to return to his passion. He asked the manager and team members for permission to rejoin the club. The manager thought that Usayama was older and had been away from the battlefield for a long time, so he should give his all and strive with all his might. All the team members agreed. They were determined to win the SJ tournament. With 5 months left until the tournament, everyone needed to give their best. Usayama returned to practice with Soda. He was still as sharp as ever. Later, the manager had an announcement for the team. It concerned the future structure of the club. Tuya and Soda were chosen to partner up from now on. The main reason was that Takeda would retire from playing and transition into coaching. The team members were quite surprised. After losing to Unisex, despite giving his all, he still lost, so he felt he didn't have a future as a player. Usayama had also returned. Takeda decided to pursue badminton in the way he chose. The manager then reorganized the team. Makoto and Miyasumi would be pair 1. Usayama would play singles. Pair 2 would be the brothers, Soda and Tuya. That evening, the brothers had dinner together and shared their thoughts. Though there was a little resentment about Takeda in his mind, Tuya knew Takeda was very good, always taking responsibility, and certainly wouldn't make the wrong choice. He realized he himself needed to try harder. Hearing this, his older brother wanted to go for a run. Soda recalled the afternoon and became thoughtful. During the next training session, unexpected news came from Takeda. Soda wanted to quit the club. Tuya was furious and went to find his older brother. He didn't understand what Soda was thinking. Soda said this was a workplace, so don't make noise. Both went outside to talk. Soda felt he was just filling a gap, and whether he was there or not made no difference. He thought that giving up his singles position was like giving up entirely. He felt like a worthless person who had been forced into doubles. Tuya wanted to play with his brother, but Soda found it really bothersome. Tuya even considered punching his brother, but decided to stop and left. That evening, Usayama went to see Soda. They went to eat ramen together. Soda thought Usayama had come to persuade him. Usayama thought that perhaps the club had become chaotic because of him. Even so, he accepted everything. He knew Soda was always calm and had a comprehensive view of things. In work, he was excellent, but he allowed his emotions to influence others too much. Usayama also talked about how he had given up badminton to choose his family. Soda thought about why he had to be the older brother, always pushing him forward, which was truly painful. Usayama knew Tuya admired his brother, which was why he pursued badminton. Soda also understood this. He always saw his little brother's eyes following him, while he himself was just an ordinary citizen with Class A skill. The main reason Soda ran away was so his brother wouldn't be disappointed. Tuya was still very upset that his brother had given up. He went to Makoto's room, not wanting to go home, to avoid seeing his brother, and decided to get drunk to forget life. Recently, Miyasumi had been refusing to practice. Takeda and Makoto didn't know what was going on. Perhaps he had a girlfriend. Takeda decided he would investigate this. The next day at work, Tuya was scolded by his older brother for a design mistake, so he was forced to redo it. His older brother also asked why he didn't go home last night, but Tuya was indifferent. Today, Tuya also skipped practice. Takeda asked if he was having some kind of problem. Tuya was trying to handle his own work. It turned out that the designer was extremely difficult. They would not agree to revise it, but he was determined not to give up. He tried to find someone else. He searched but still hadn't found anyone. Makoto arrived. He wanted to help, but Tuya refused because this was his own work. Makoto left but knew Tuya was overexerting himself. He also ran into his brother Soda. Tuya was at a dead end. His older brother came to find him. Indeed, his hard-working nature was still the same. His 2 older brothers brought him food and left. He felt very proud of his younger brother. Suddenly, Tuya asked his 2 brothers to help him, so the 2 brothers started working together. His older brother introduced him to a designer, a gaming friend living in the US. He was extremely skilled. Then Tuya connected with him. After that, he also agreed to help. The 2 brothers stayed up all night revising the design, and finally, it was completely corrected. Then it was praised as excellent. The 2 brothers went home together. The house was now like a garbage dump. Unbelievably, it had become like this in just 3 days. After a while, Tuya also tidied up and cleaned the house. His older brother said he would partner with him. After going through so much, the 2 had understood each other better. The next day during practice, Makoto noticed Miyasumi acting strangely. Takeda also noticed it. That night, Makoto continued drinking a lot to express himself. He realized that Miyasumi no longer attempted suicide. Everyone also noticed that Miyasumi had been playing more safely recently. Makoto still couldn't believe Miyasumi actually had a girlfriend. Suddenly, the young man accidentally dropped scallions onto CEO Oshitari. Since he was drunk, Makoto acted wildly in front of him. Oshitari even ate all the scallions. He scolded them for not performing well in the tournament and just partying instead. He regarded them as a weak team. He also criticized Miyasumi for not focusing on work. Makoto immediately defended him. He knew that everyone in the business department supported the club, so they would always try to reciprocate that support. They would also aim to win this year's SJ tournament. Everyone was determined to make Oshitari feel fear. The next day, another surprise occurred. Miyasumi announced that he wanted to stop partnering with Makoto. Everyone heard that he had gone on a business trip. Takeda thought it was probably due to the CEO's authority taking effect. Perhaps he was targeting Makoto. Unexpectedly, Makoto asked to leave early. The next day, he continued his own work. Everyone didn't know how he would manage without Miyasumi. Currently, they saw that Makoto had become noticeably more serious. Unexpectedly, when retrieving documents from Miyasumi's place, Makoto discovered something. He immediately took it to meet the manager. But during work hours, he immediately ate the snack. Miyasumi's knees had reached their limit, so if he continued playing the way he was, no one knew when his career would end. Makoto wondered if, after the last match, the manager had known all along. It was just because he had silently fought until now. Takeda outside had also heard everything. Afterwards, the two of them had a heart-to-heart talk. No one knew why he had come to meet Tsuhoshi in the first place. But then he had left again. Currently, he was hiding everything from everyone. Makoto thought he was truly acting on his own, because it was him who had dragged him into this. The next day, Makoto intended to return home. On the way, he ran into Ibuki. The two of them chatted afterwards. Ibuki had gotten lost in Tokyo while coming here for an interview. Makoto said he was going to replace the net for his racket. Ibuki had watched his recent match against Unisix. He knew that he was playing doubles with Miyasumi, a very strong partner. Ibuki also mentioned that Miyasumi had called Izumo, and went all the way to Kyoto to meet him. Makoto thought that he might return to playing singles. Ibuki asked Makoto to spend a little time with him. The two went to the gymnasium used by Mitsuhoshi during away games. Ibuki wanted to try a game with Makoto, so the two of them competed against each other. Makoto knew that playing a long match with Ibuki would be very disadvantageous. Ibuki scored the first point. He pointed out that both sides of Makoto had too many openings. Then came a series of smashes by Ibuki that earned points. The score was already 19-6. He saw that Makoto's intuition was no longer like before. Makoto thought this was just a casual match, but Ibuki considered a loss. Without excuses, the match continued. Makoto decided to activate his prediction mode, but he guessed wrong. One more point and it would be over. He didn't understand why his predictive ability wasn't working. Was it because he hadn't played singles in a long time? Or because the opponent was Ibuki? Ibuki thought that if Makoto returned to singles with this style, it would be too naive. Makoto continued predicting. This time, he saw Miyasumi standing next to him. The match ended. Ibuki thought he had probably realized that even if he wanted to return to singles, the current style wasn't suitable for a solo player anymore. Makoto's heart now wanted most to fight alongside someone. Izumo also came to see Miyasumi. The two drank and talked together. They recalled events from the past. Izumo didn't know the real issue when inviting him here. Miyasumi knew Izumo was aware of his knee condition. That was why he had left and chosen Mitsuhoshi. Miyasumi asked whether continuing to play like this would affect Makoto. He considered this his final act of selfishness. He didn't even understand his own feelings at this moment. Izumo thought Miyasumi should give up. If he gave advice like that, would he feel satisfied? Izumo saw that choosing Mitsuhoshi was simply for personal gain. He joined a strong team to aim for the world stage. Izumo didn't have time to chat here. If he did, he should go home and exercise. He also promised that next time they would meet at the SJ tournament. Makoto returned home and didn't stay the night. He just wanted to grab more clothes to go to the company. His mother also told him to eat. She thanked him for coming to the new product trial last time. His mother said it was truly nostalgic, because he had lived there before. But Makoto had forgotten due to moving so many times. His mother mentioned the hippopotamus park. That reminded him, the first time he met Miyasumi was there. Apparently, the first impression had really been terrible. He didn't know what face Miyasumi would have when they met tomorrow. His mother's pet brought out a book. He looked through it again. Unexpectedly, there was a shuttlecock feather inside. He also read his childhood diary and realized something very important. He even left immediately without eating. Indeed, when he was a child, Miyasumi had met Makoto at the park. The two of them had played badminton together. While trying to save the shuttlecock blown by the wind, Makoto fell down. His leg got injured afterward. Makoto wanted to save it at all costs, because if the shuttlecock fell, it meant losing. Indeed, those words had made Miyasumi realize something. Afterwards, the two had to part ways because Makoto moved. Miyasumi gave him a shuttlecock feather. He promised that if they kept playing badminton, they would surely meet again one day. 10 years later, when he saw Makoto's name on the Mitsuhoshi player list, he made his decision immediately. He recommended Makoto to his manager. He promised to do everything he could to make the team stronger. The manager also placed his trust in the two of them. Miyasumi returned to the park, and Makoto also arrived in time. He said he would do everything, knee issues or change his play style. Everything could be discussed and solved. Makoto took out the shuttlecock feather, hoping Miyasumi would partner with him once again. Then Miyasumi agreed to team up with Makoto one more time. The next day, the two resumed training, but Miyasumi continued to refuse to stay for practice. Makoto wondered if Miyasumi really had a girlfriend. He also invited Makoto to go along with him. After a while, the two arrived at the place. Miyasumi went to see Coach Nakamori. The purpose was to improve his physical condition. He was a person with a disability, with the philosophy that flexibility, not strength, was what mattered most. Makoto was frustrated because Miyasumi was always silent. Then Coach Nakamori decided to think together with them about a new play style. The tournament would start in 3 months. The training process was still going on intensely. The two often observed and analyzed their opponents. With the help of Coach Nakamori, ginger soda also became increasingly popular. Everything went smoothly. Then, in the blink of an eye, 3 months had passed. The top national tournament was about to take place. The Sunlight team was ready to fight. The plan to dismiss Miyasumi had been set. The CEO decided that the badminton club had to be eliminated. He saw it as a necessary step to streamline management. Miyasumi had to be dealt with at all costs. The team was waiting for the manager to arrive. Finally, he arrived. He was wearing a suit and announced that Miyasumi might not make it to the match because he was currently summoned by the company. The manager wanted everyone not to question this. He would go check personally. Everyone should just focus on the upcoming matches. In the worst case, Takeda would pair with Makoto. An emergency meeting at the company had also begun. The main topic was Miyasumi's violent actions. The CEO brought up past incidents. He mentioned that the injured vice president was due to Miyasumi. But Miyasumi knew that the VP had actually fallen on his own. The CEO still turned against him despite knowing the truth. Then he decided to suspend Miyasumi. He advised him to consider resigning. Makoto was also informed. Yata recounted everything. That day, Miyasumi went to entertain the vice president Tokui. The VP repeatedly tried to flirt with Yata, but each time, Miyasumi interrupted. This made him extremely angry. He tried to push Miyasumi but accidentally fell. So currently, Miyasumi had to bear the blame for using violence. Makoto thought he should try to do something. In the first match, Tuya and Soda went out to play. The meeting was still ongoing with council members wanting to deliberate, but the two old men were determined to eliminate Miyasumi. He continued to bring up the issue of borrowing a car during the product trial. Although it brought benefits, he insisted it was harmful. One side was prying into Miyasumi's matters. The other side tried their best to defend him. Miyasumi insisted he would change, but violence was out of the question. However, if that was the case, the badminton club would have to be disbanded. In the match, Sunlight was currently behind. The opponents continuously gained the advantage over the two brothers. Both of them kept losing points. Soda had to acknowledge their strength. The CEO kept finding every possible excuse to eliminate the club. He was determined to bring up as many reasons as possible. He insisted the club must be dissolved. Miyasumi asked whether resigning would save the club. The two old men said it depended on his attitude. Miyasumi was about to make a decision, but suddenly, Makoto arrived. Game 1 was won by Unisex, and Game 2 was also underway. The two brothers, Soda and Tuya, were bracing themselves, but then came the counterattack from the two brothers. Points were scored immediately. They used a strategy where one blocked the shuttlecock for the other. The following situations continued in the same way. They successfully scored continuously with this strategy. After 3 successful attempts, the opponents finally broke the tactic, but all of it had been anticipated. Now it was time to start. This time, it was the same again, but the shuttlecock touched the net and gently fell, scoring a point. The score was pulled back to 14-11. The opponents thought it was just luck, but the point was still scored. The unisex side couldn't understand why it happened this way. This was a special skill with the net touch smash. After pulling back some points, Tuya made an error, but it couldn't change the fact that Sunlight had won Game 2 thanks to it. Makoto arrived and targeted Miyasumi. Still angry because he remained silent and dealt with everything alone. Miyasumi didn't understand what Makoto was doing here. Then the tournament continued, but he affirmed that everyone would win. Makoto said that Miyasumi was an indispensable member of the club. Thanks to him, everything went smoothly. Playing badminton with him also went smoothly. Makoto asked Tokui. He recounted Yata's story. Everyone finally understood everything. Seeing that he still boldly used his hand, Makoto threw a water bottle at him. He caught it decisively. Indeed, his hand wasn't hurt at all. This trick had been seen through by Makoto. His leg was the same. This was the plan of the two old men. He angrily walked away. The CEO now could only think this must be a misunderstanding. He continued to blame Miyasumi and the badminton club. Because after all, there wasn't any real achievement. Makoto insisted that they would win the SJ tournament this year. Then he made a wager. If they won, today's incident would be forgiven. Otherwise, Miyasumi would have to leave the club. Miyasumi also accepted the condition. The score in Game 3 was currently tied at 15. Tuya had begun to tire and couldn't return the shuttlecock. His smash power was no longer strong. Fortunately, his older brother supported him. Soda tried to save the shuttlecock repeatedly. They successfully scored a point. Tuya changed himself. He was no longer lacking confidence. It was also Soda's turn to step up. He played with full determination, carrying the responsibility for his younger brother. The two brothers were determined to win the match. Hayato also thought of his younger sibling. He lost focus and missed a point because he couldn't reach in time. The score was now tied at 19. Hayato had also noticed his younger sibling. Then the match between the two sides continued. Hayato remembered and felt very frustrated. A powerful smash was launched. But this time, the shuttlecock went out. He lost his composure when recalling his sibling's words. Tuya had exhausted himself. He also didn't want to rely on his older brother all the time. The two sides continued to struggle for the final points. The decisive moment came to Tuya. He launched a very powerful smash. Again, it touched the net and fell. Hayata reached for the shuttlecock, but Soda had already supported from above. The official victory had been achieved. The two brothers had brought the win to Sunlight. Both brothers were very happy to have accomplished it together. The whole team congratulated each other for reaching the finals. Miyasumi apologized to the team for the trouble he had caused, but he also promised to make it up to the team. That night, Makoto wondered if hiding the wager from everyone was okay. Miyasumi thought it would be fine. As long as they won, it was enough. The next day, the tournament continued. Mitsuhoshi had been rotating between doubles pair 1 and 2 from the start. If following the order, the Saki brothers would play doubles 1. Singles would be Usayama. Doubles 2 would be Makoto and Miyasumi. The manager wanted everyone to aim for the top, to show Mitsuhoshi who was truly number 1. Takuma continued to provoke Makoto before the match. Then he still regarded Makoto as a loser and left. Everyone in the company came today to support the badminton club. Tamari from logistics was also present. The manager didn't want the Saki brothers to underestimate their opponents, because Nakamura and Takamoto were both excellent players. But a surprise occurred on the court. Nakamura and Takamoto had a quarrel with each other. Both blamed the other, leading to the loss. The two game scores were 21-9. 21-18. Sunlight had won, a very favorable result for Sunlight. Nakamura and Takamoto were then moved to play in Team 2. Now it was the fateful showdown after 11 years. Reenacting the high school days, Usayama in the east, Ibuki in the west. Usayama's wife and child hoped he would give his all. He felt honored to face Ibuki once again. The official match began. Usayama didn't see this as a practice match. He had returned to win. Ibuki scored the first point. Indeed, Ibuki was still the same as ever. No gaps in defense. Attacks always precise. Ibuki still dominated the match. The score was 4-0. Usayama still couldn't keep up with the match's pace. Then it was time for a break. The gap remained 4 points in favor of Usayama. The manager knew that with this style, Usayama would be at a disadvantage. Usayama realized that if things continued this way, he would exhaust himself, so he decided to let go of his usual stability. He successfully scored immediately with a smash. The manager knew Usayama had done it. The match had shifted momentum. Tuya also saw that this was the first time Usayama had attacked so powerfully. Game 1 ended. Usayama was the winner. Everyone was very happy with this victory. He also knew that Ibuki hadn't attacked in the first game but was just observing. Then Game 2 began. Ibuki launched a fast counterattack. He acknowledged that Usayama, though absent from badminton for a long time, was still sharp, but it was still too inexperienced. The two sides continued the struggle. Attacker versus defender. The current match is in Ibuki's hands. Usayama struggles to fight back but still fails. He is already exhausted. The result of Game 2 ended in a tie. After a short while, Game 3 begins. In singles, this is a solitary battle. The court has only one person. He cannot rely on anyone at all. Ibuki still maintains the peak level he had in high school. This is what Ibuki has exchanged for solitude. During the time Usayama took a break from badminton, the gap between them widened tremendously. He wonders if this is the limit, but his wife and child are still supporting him wholeheartedly. Usayama manages to score a point just in time. He knows he still has teammates. He always has his family's support, so he is determined to continue. Both of them continue exchanging points. Everyone is watching a truly amazing match attentively. The current score is 20-19. Both Ibuki and Usayama are already fatigued. Ibuki is somewhat jealous of Usayama's strength. Defeating Usayama would therefore be even more meaningful. After that, Ibuki smashes the shuttle, but Usayama does not make things easy. Then comes another smashing situation. But not exactly. Ibuki has dropped a gentle shot. Usayama is too late to save it. The match officially ends. Ibuki wins the singles match. Usayama accepts his defeat, but Ibuki still wants both of them to continue fighting in the next rounds. Even in defeat, everyone acknowledges Usayama's efforts. Tears have fallen from his eyes. And so, the final match will determine who is the champion. Takuma asks if the Sunlight side only trains in the evenings while also using the elementary school's physical education facilities at home. The young man has underestimated his opponent too much, and the outcome is about to happen. For Takuma, aiming for the championship is his job. Miyasumi thinks that although he is truly no match for Mitsuhoshi, in this arena, there is only winning and losing. And so, Game 1 officially begins. Takuma wants the losing dog to receive a psychological blow. But unexpectedly, Makoto is no longer constrained by having to jump afterward. Takuma is extremely formidable. That is his famous left-hand smash. Like Ibuki, left-handed players all have strong smashes, which allow for longer reverse spins. Hayata also acknowledges that his younger sibling has become faster than before. A gentle drop shot from Takuma earns him a point immediately. Then comes a just over the net shot. Very tricky. The current point gap has reached 8. Miyasumi looks at Coach Nakamori. He knows his time has come. Azumo thought Miyasumi would jump afterward, but he does not. Miyasumi moves, and Makoto responds brilliantly. Due to a knee problem, Miyasumi cannot jump, so Coach Nakamori wants him to enhance shuttle control. He should not take overly long steps. Try to move with short steps. Do not rely on arm or leg strength. Focus on controlling the center to manage the pace. The match begins to turn around. The effort has been rewarded. The score is now 14-all. Takuma does not understand why Miyasumi is not making his signature jumps. Or maybe he simply cannot. The rallies continue back and forth. Then Takuma smashes the shuttle high. The score remains balanced. Makoto and Miyasumi realize why the opponent is not attacking. Both sides prolong the points of the match. Takuma still shows contempt for Sunlight. Indeed, he is deliberately doing this. Then follow a series of Takuma's smashes. Only one more point remains, and the game will end. Takuma did not expect his older brother to lose in this way. It is really frustrating. The match continues. Miyasumi successfully returns the shuttle, but Takuma continues with drop shots. Makoto absolutely cannot lose, but accidentally slips and hits the net post. Blood is now running down his face. The victory belongs to Mitsuhoshi. Makoto's face has a cut. Continuing to play would be very dangerous. The medical staff advise going to the hospital for a checkup. But Makoto requests a dose of painkillers, because he absolutely must win. The manager and Miyasumi advise him not to be overconfident. It could affect his entire career. But Makoto insists on continuing, and so both return to the court together. Makoto covers one of his eyes. The manager agrees but insists he must go to the hospital immediately after the match. Then Game 2 begins. Takuma continues to smash and score points. Makoto struggles to return the shuttle. The current score is 11-6. Timeout. Makoto hopes Miyasumi can stall a little longer. In the meantime, he will try to do something. Miyasumi understands and agrees. He knows if they lose this game, Makoto's badminton career could end. The match resumes. Miyasumi must speed up to get Makoto to the hospital, but he makes a mistake. Takuma still does not understand. Injured yet determined to continue. He still underestimates Makoto. He advises Miyasumi to find someone else to replace that losing dog. Miyasumi has something to teach him. Never underestimate someone giving their all. You fool. He immediately shows his strength. He scores a point right away, then continues to launch consecutive smashes. The points are caught up quickly. Azumo realizes Miyasumi has regained focus. Miyasumi successfully supports Makoto and scores. Mitsuhoshi's side keeps losing points. The score is now 14-all. Takuma continues to smash. This time, he succeeds. Indeed, it is not easy. Takuma begins to press back and control the match. He continues to launch drop shots. Suddenly, Miyasumi feels pain in his knee. But this time, Makoto clamps down for a counterattack. The point gap is 3. He removes his eye patch, apologizing for keeping Miyasumi waiting too long. Now it's time for both of them to counterattack. Both of them then notice Azumo's habit. When he changes the racket position, he hits low and near the net. Indeed, Makoto succeeds. Then Makoto continues to read him, and continues to score points against Azumo. Both of them reclaim Game 2. Both teams are officially tied. Game 3 will decide the winner. There are 2 minutes of rest before continuing. Miyasumi admits that playing doubles with Makoto is the most fun. Takuma does not need Azumo to play anymore. He wants to take on everything by himself. Since childhood, Takuma has been very good at sports. But nothing comes easy, no matter how hard he tries. It is all brushed away by the word talent. His older brother is considered a genius, so only Hayato can understand Takuma's feelings. Even when winning the championship, Takuma is still criticized, because he was born into an athlete family, and then a genius. But Hayato has always understood his younger brother. When Takuma was young, he dreamed of becoming teammates with his older brother. But as he grew up, Takuma gradually surpassed him. Since that loss, Hayato no longer dares to play against his brother. He even moved house to focus more on badminton. Even after partnering with many people, facing many opponents, Takuma still sees no one stronger than his older brother. All those achievements are just stepping stones for him to become stronger. Game 3 has now begun. Takuma is determined to fight alone, because he has always done so. Azumo just stands frozen, doing nothing. Miyasumi is also surprised that he does not move. He does not know what is happening. But if only Takuma attacks, it would be easier. Both of them have read Takuma's moves. The point gap is now only 1. Both have studied Takuma's previous playing style carefully. Sunlight officially takes the lead. Young Takuma remains stubborn, still fighting alone, without needing Azumo. Azumo is always looking for the best path for himself. Moving to Mitsuhoshi, being paired with the world's #1 player. Takuma, all are choices to reach higher. So, to avoid hurting Takuma's feelings, it's better not to move. That turns out to be the best strategy. Miyasumi accidentally makes a mistake. Azumo recalls his own past by the way Makoto communicates. Then, after that situation, he decides not to stand still anymore. Because this is what doubles play is supposed to be. Azumo also does not want Takuma to attack anymore, because his moves have been anticipated. Continuing would only waste more energy. Both need to change their strategy. They want both of them to switch to a defensive stance from now on. Wait for the opponent to reveal a weakness before attacking. Indeed, changing the strategy has worked. Mitsuhoshi continuously scores points. The score is now 20-19. The final deciding point goes to Mitsuhoshi. Luckily, Sunlight manages to pull back 1 point. Both sides are nearly exhausted. The battle is still closely contested. Takuma successfully executes a drop shot to score. Makoto continues to bleed from his wound. Miyasumi wants him to stop. Their careers are still ahead, so there is no need to give everything at this moment. But Makoto knows that if he loses this match, the betting conditions will be lost. Miyasumi thinks that's enough. He wants Makoto to just continue playing, so stopping here would be reasonable. But Makoto does not want to, because if he does not play with Miyasumi, it will no longer have any meaning. Haruki also wants both of them to give their best. Tamari's cheering squad is also supporting Sunlight. The entire audience wants both of them to push forward. Miyasumi asks permission to be a little greedy with Makoto. That is to win this match. The match continues. Takuma insists the victory must be his. So, do not joke around. Azumo also wants to give his best. Makoto and Miyasumi are forced to win as well. Only one deciding point remains. The words remain. Leave it to me. Takuma realizes Makoto has been psychologically affected. Then comes the high shot situation. Makoto calls Miyasumi. He decides to jump as well. Then they execute the finishing strike. The match ends with a final score of 2-1. Sunlight is officially the champion. Everyone is overjoyed. Everyone is emotional. Hayato later meets Takuma. He promises his younger brother that next time they will compete. He also hopes his brother will visit their mother more often. The two brothers have reconciled. The CEO also admits defeat. The whole team thanks everyone for always following and supporting them. All members lift the championship cup together. They celebrate the victory together with the ginger soda they made. After that, the sales of ginger soda increased dramatically. Customers kept calling to place orders. Everyone's life began returning to normal. Still training, then working, Miyasumi was promoted to head of the business department. Makoto became a senior guiding the newcomers. That's all for today's video. Thank you for watching. Remember to like and follow my channel. Stay tuned for the next parts. Much love.